Thank you for double-clicking your mouse tonight. You're listening to the Midnight Frightcast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We are rolling on Facebook. We're rolling on Tascam. So
I can get it.
And
So
Gregory is hosting the
Gregory
night.
is rolling
Yeah.
his phone all over the place.
Well, my wife keeps texting updates on the flood, so I'm trying to keep my phone off of the table. Otherwise, it's going to be it's going to be doing that all cast.
Just put it like right in your crotch. Like,
Hey, everybody! This is the Midnight Frightcast.
Oh, you got to start the episode like that. Just use it. It's episode 52. Let's go.
No, I was going to do a
That was
a
52.
really awesome Irish accent.
No, that one was better. Whatever you just did, let's stick with that.
We'll see.
Just introduce people. Let's go.
There we go.
Oh, that wasn't my start.
Oh, you think
was
that
just-
wasn't your
You
start?
think you know who's editing this
Who edits
thing?
this?
Yeah, I'm aware. Top of the morning, everybody. This is the Midnight Frightcast, episode number 52. Maddie's rolling her eyes, but I don't care because it's St. Patrick's Day, and we're down here in the basement studios. How is everybody doing tonight?
Fantastical.
Excellent.
great.
To my right, we've got the Scream Queen, Maddie.
Yeah.
To my front, we haven't named him yet.
I haven't have a fucking name. I just don't have a
No, I know
title.
what you have a name is Josh, but I wanted to give you something like
that's
the
cool,
doctor
man.
of or the master of or
Well, he's a master of
I'm
something.
the master. Yeah, I'm Josh.
Hi, Josh.
I'm here.
And then the doctor of everything else to my left is Patrick.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
The Irish man himself. We are here again, episode number 52. We've got some great
Are you?
stuff planned
No.
for you here. And
Just an Irish first name.
Oh,
No,
just on the
I'm-
17th.
yeah.
Just on St. Patrick's Day. Cool.
Yeah.
all right, we are here, episode number 52. We got some good stuff planned for you this evening. Something a little newer, a little more exciting. But let's jump into the trailer that we just watched. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Midsummer? Samar? Samar.
I'm just going to say Midsummer.
Midsummer
because
because it's a play on the word midsummer.
Okay, it's spelled differently. Midsommar, I think.
I think that's just the cult spelling of it.
Probably. So, yeah.
Cults.
We watched that for our trailer this evening. Let's talk about Midsummer. Josh, go.
Yeah. So it's Ari Alistair. I think the guy that did Hereditary made this movie, and I feel like they've given this guy a license just to make weird shit because it's weird. We watched it, and even Patrick was saying like, I need to watch that explaining fucking thing because and I'm right there with you. I have no idea what this movie is about. I really dug Hereditary. I couldn't purchase Hereditary because I couldn't watch it a second time. But the first time viewing, I really dug. I just I feel like this guy is now going to make weird shit for the sake of making weird shit because Hereditary blew up and did as good as it did.
Yeah.
Nothing against him. I may see Midsummer. I'm not going to chase it. This one was a little too Maddie for me, I think. So,
Maddie, your rebuttal.
I'm not even sure what that means.
I don't either. I think I've said I wasn't the biggest fan of Hereditary, so I'm not really sure why I picked this trailer, but it was a little more interesting to me because I actually from the beginning wasn't super interested in Hereditary. Like I watched the trailer and I was like, I could tell it was going to be a slog.
What a great word.
Slog.
But I like culty shit, so I was there's a couple themes that just kind of always grab me for horror movies, and this one kind of really grabbed me. And another thing that I thought was interesting is you see so many of these horror movies that are really dark, the trailer's really dark, not like more atmospheric wise. And so this one was kind of interesting because it was bright and like they were out in the fucking sun.
Yeah, it looked like some like spring festival to the tune of something out of like Danny Elfman or something.
Yeah.
But it was, that's kind of what I appreciate. I apologize if I'm interrupting you here. I
Damn
actually,
it, Greg.
yeah, I'm an ass, aren't I?
There you go.
I really kind of appreciated the fact that I didn't know what was going on, or I still don't know what the hell I watched. Like, especially that, I don't know if it was like a keyhole scene or where that scene at the end where she's looking through the door and it sounds like there's the freaking like orgy going on the other side.
yeah.
I was trying to see what was in the reflection in her eye because it looked like someone was standing there doing something. But,
Right.
But yeah.
It kind of had I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Sallow. Don't. But it kind of had, though, it had an element to it And I hope to God it's not like Sallow, because that movie made me want to just like pull my eyes out.
Yeah.
But it had almost that little bit of an undertone of Sallow. God help you if that's what you were going for. It's so awful.
Patrick.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm in the same boat with you, Josh, where it comes down to what the hell did I just watch? And is it going to be just a series of movies from this person where it is just weird shit all the time? I did enjoy Hereditary.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing some reflections of similar directing styles in this one. I just don't know if it's one that I would chase down.
He's really into cult shit. Like this would be his second feature and the second cult type film. So he's definitely chasing that dragon, that cult thing.
Has there been any discussion of whether or not it is associated with Hereditary then, or
That was kind of my thought, because I know I didn't watch till the end of Hereditary, and I maybe will in my next 5 or 10 years on this earth, but I knew there was like a cult thing at the end of it. I think it would be kind of cool if there was that little bit of a tie-in, like not necessary, but I think if you are a director and you just keep making movies with the same theme, I think, yeah, you probably should tie your stuff in a little bit, or you're just going to be pigeonholed.
Yeah, Hereditary wraps itself up in a nice little bloody bow. And I can see, like, there's definitely this cult thing at the end of Hereditary where, like, it all comes together. So you could definitely take that theme at the end of Hereditary and easily shift it over to Midsommar. But I don't know why he really would do that.
I think what's going to happen in the very end, he's just going to like shift everything, and it's just a big tie-in to Paranormal Activity.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would make me happy.
I'm calling this guy the new his movie's going to have the new M. Night Shyamalan effect, where he's like, watch this. Now see what I can do.
Yeah.
Now watch 90 minutes and then watch me fuck with you for the last 10. I feel like that's what it's going to be.
Probably.
So,
Hopefully he can do it better, or at least, better than M. Night Shyamalan did for however many movies.
Yeah.
I hope this movie isn't as long. I know. If the movie's not 45 minutes, I don't give a fuck. But no, I hope this isn't as long as Hereditary was, because, as I said, I'm sorry, Hereditary was a very slow burn in the fact that it is like 2 hours long. Kind of a sit. So I hope that this doesn't come out and he's like Stephen King in it and is like, hey, everybody, it's an hour and 80 minutes. Sit down.
Get comfortable. We're going to be here
Get
for a while.
comfortable. We will be here all night. So...
Well, I will probably give it a watch. I don't know if I'll check it out in theaters, but if it comes up on Netflix or some sort of streaming service, I might check it out. Or maybe if I'm bored and want to burn a Tuesday night, I can go check it out on there. But yeah, definitely not a full price.
Yeah, I wouldn't run out
Viewing,
and see
so,
this.
Yeah. Too many horror films coming out the next couple of months to chase that one.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
No, I
awesome.
completely agree with that.
So,
Absolutely. Awesome. Let's move on to... Oh, Patrick, did you see what's next?
No, I didn't see what's next. What's next, Greg?
It's the news.
I can't even plug my ears because I'm wearing earphones.
You could always take your earphones off.
I could, but I'm still going to hear it.
I know. Who's got news for us?
Patrick's got two. So you want to do one and I'll do one? We'll go back
Sure.
and forth? Okay.
This one was from comingsoon.net. And they're saying that the Curse of La Llorona confirmed that they have a Conjuring connection. Ooh. That following the Curse of La Llorona's premiere at the South by Southwest Film Festival, it appears that Annabelle's father Perez has officially crossed over from the Conjuring universe. Those who got to see the film at South by Southwest have confirmed that there is not only a verbal reference to the previous film, but also a flashback in his attempt to carrying the doll into the church.
Nice.
Yeah.
I heard it played really well there, too.
That's what I heard as well.
I'm kind of excited about that one. So,
I'm excited to check that movie out.
Yeah, I love the Conjuring universe, so to kind of shift that in there a little bit is kind of a cool thing to do.
Was it intended to be part of the universe in the beginning, or did they just kind of like throw it in there as a...
I think they're attaching it just because it's got a good name on it. It's kind of a similar story, just Spanish spun to it. But
because when people saw that actor was in the movie, then they started thinking, oh, is this the...
is there a connection?
Yeah.
Does anybody know, is James Wan attached to?
Yes.
Okay, well then that would make sense. Yeah.
And that's why everybody was so curious about it.
Right.
Because once Wan was attached and they saw that name, they're like, okay.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
Well, like when I saw it, and I haven't watched everything in the Conjuring universe, but when I saw that trailer, because we watched it, I immediately thought that it was connected because it just kind of had that same look.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it would have been weird if it wasn't. But
I think you even said something during that
Yes.
podcast.
Yeah.
And we're like, I don't think it's part of it. And you're like, well, maybe I'm full of shit. Well, you're
Yeah.
not full of shit, Maddie. You
oh,
win.
God.
Maddie for the win.
Yay!
Well, even a stop clock is right twice a day, so we're good.
Yeah, well, so speaking of the Conjuring universe a little bit, Annabelle Comes Home is the new title in the Annabelle series, coming out June 28th. You can watch a teaser trailer of it now, but it shows you nothing.
So it's a true teaser.
It really is. It gives you zero. I'm not a fan of the title. I think the title's kind of dumb. Really?
Sounds like a knockoff of the Lassie movie.
It just...
Annabelle, come home.
But
Oh God.
I didn't love the first Annabelle movie. The second Annabelle film was kind of a prequel, but I dug that for the most part. But we'll be curious to see where they take the new Annabelle film. But yeah, I mean, this Conjuring thing is going to go forever, and I'm not sure I'm really that angry about it. I like the universe. So.
Yeah. News from Variety. Netflix will cut Bird Box footage of the Canadian train crash tragedy. Shortly after Bird Box came out, there was this big outcry over footage of a deadly train disaster that took place in Quebec in 2013. They used the footage from that actual disaster in the movie.
Oh.
And where legally they were fine doing it because they paid Getty Images or Getty Video, whatever that group is, and paid for the actual footage. But there was just an outcry about them using it because it was such a sensitive subject for the Canadians. So Netflix at first said they would not remove the offending content, but then in About Face, they decided to let's go ahead and cut it out. So that has been re-edited and reposted to Netflix.
Interesting. I wonder what scene that played in. Was it...
It's like the news scenes and stuff where they were showing things on the news.
Okay.
Towards the beginning.
Yeah.
Almost,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because you could take those things and totally take them out of context as long as it works for the film.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of movies do that.
Interesting.
But this one was very specific to this particular incident, and the Canadians were offended.
There you go.
With every right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certain things I can definitely appreciate something like that. Like, you know, if you're going to show stuff of 9/11,
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
that's pretty sketch. So
Yeah.
I completely appreciate what's going on there.
Exactly.
So good on Netflix for recognizing and correcting that. So cool. Was that our news?
That's all I had.
Yeah, but that's it for me. Yeah.
That was the news. I cut it short just for you.
Yeah, it gets shorter every week. I'm like, all right, let's keep going.
All right, kicking along. Now, episode number 52, we got, what have we been watching? Who's been watching what?
I watched Wild Wild Country, and keeping with that cult theme. It was really interesting. It was kind of slow. I mean, I think they could have cut like the first like 3 or 4. They really could have wrapped up like the background stuff. You were kind of like, okay, I don't need all of this, because like the last 2 episodes were really interesting, but getting there was a struggle. But it was, you know, it was cool. It was interesting to learn about how many people, you know, were affected by this. I know they say they don't want to be called a cult, but you know, if the shoe fits. Although I was like shocked about how much money they made off of people. Like, I turned to my boyfriend and was like, can we start a cult? Like, we won't do this like felony shit, but we can just get like some money.
Yeah.
No, that was shot down real quick. So that's what I've been watching.
All right. Josh, what do you got?
Yeah, I had the last like 9 days off, so I smashed a ton of movies, but I didn't do a lot of horror stuff this week. It was kind of an off week for me.
Sure.
But I did and wrap up season 2 of Santa Clarita Diet. Finally, I wrapped it up with my wife last night.
Nice.
Really dug how it ended. The new season starts March 29th.
Oh, coming up. Nice.
Yeah, well, I'll see how season 3 goes. I don't think they can go another past the next season. It's going to start slowing down, and it's going to kind of wear out here soon. But
Which is all right, especially for like Netflix shows. I feel like there's a sweet spot around that 4-5 seasons where it kind of needs to live there or a little less. And I think you've done a good job.
yeah.
You know,
So that, and then I watched a movie called Burning Bright. It's from 2010. It's on Tubi TV. And that one was kind of interesting. It was about a girl that is stuck in a house with her autistic brother during a hurricane, and there is a tiger loose in the house, And they basically spend her
Backstory, please.
Yeah. So her stepfather bought a tiger because he's starting a animal safari thing. So he buys this tiger and then he basically let it loose in the house and then went to the bar during the hurricane. And because he just took out a life insurance policy on these kids. And he's basically saying, oh, the tiger killed them so he can collect the money. So you spend basically 80 minutes with these kids watching them run from this fucking tiger. Reading about it sounded really interesting, but it didn't play as interesting as it read. So,
So many questions.
Yeah, that's so bizarre.
Yeah, that dad sounds like he has right about the same parenting skills I do. So,
but it was I sat through the whole thing. It kept my attention. It just, what's the saying? It wasn't horror.
Okay.
There you go.
It was thriller.
It was something. So,
Okay.
so it was like Life of Pi in a hurricane.
yeah.
Nice.
Weren't they in a hurricane just on water?
I don't know.
Oh. Patty has to step away for just a moment.
But we'll continue talking. I can
continue
talk
talking.
about what I've been watching. Oh, yeah, we're going to talk about Maddie while she's gone as well. There is a show on Fox by Seth MacFarlane called The Orville,
Oh, yeah.
which is basically his version of Star Trek. And season 2 started, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago.
Oh, damn.
And I had no idea. So I've been catching up on The Orville. And they must be throwing some decent bucks at it because the special effects in this show are better than what I saw like on Next Generation or any of the others, Voyager, etc. So, catching up on that. And then there's a new series on Netflix. It is an animated short story anthology called Love, Death, and Robots.
Yeah.
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 That is strange, but I really like it. Each story is like about 15, 20 minutes long, right around there. It's all animated, and it is not safe for work.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and I was going to give it a shot, but I couldn't pull the trigger on it.
Yeah,
so.
it's if you enjoy watching cutscenes from video games and stuff like that, but on a much more professional level, that's basically what it is.
Nice.
Topher Grace has his name attached to this project. I don't know how many episodes there are right offhand. I'm only about 6 into it, but I'm really enjoying it so far.
Cool.
Netflix is popping out a lot of good stuff. There was a movie that came out I watched a while back called Polar with Mads Mikkelsen. Fucking dude's a badass in it.
You can't keep up with Netflix.
No, you really can't.
There's no way in hell. I also started a new Ricky Gervais series.
After.Life?
Yeah, because I was confused because the movie for today is After.Life. And then I said, well, wait a minute, didn't I just save that to my queue?
Right.
No, but yeah, I just started Ricky Gervais's new series After.Life as well.
After not dot life.
Yeah, no dot in that one.
No dot.
And Maddie has rejoined us.
Welcome back.
Sorry, guys.
All good. So I've been working my way through my Road to 200 series on my blog, and I've actually been fortunate enough to watch a lot of really, really good movies. The one that I want to actually reference is the one that I watched yesterday morning. That was a rediscovery of American History X, recommended by one of our own, Josh.
Yeah.
That is such a great fucking movie.
I actually
so
I did watch
good.
that this week also.
It is. I forgot how powerfully painful it is to watch in some of those scenes.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I mean, I can't really do it justice just talking about it. You have to watch it and you have to kind of experience all of it. So
I think that's the best work that Edward Norton did.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I agree with that.
Primal Fear is a close second for me, but American History X is probably his best.
He
work,
definitely gave himself to that role, and it shows in there every second of it. So really, really great recommendation. All right. Trying to come up with some different ideas for our cast just to get the discussions and the dialogue and maybe even some headbutting going. And I thought, what would be a good way to do this? And I came up with the idea because we are in the throes of March Madness basketball season. And I thought, what if we took the top 32 horror movies of all time and pinned them up against each other tournament style? So I did quite a bit of research. I went to 10 different sites to find the top 50, 100, whatever they had. And I just took their top 32. And it's incredible how differing they are. So what we've got is a compilation, and we'll put this up on the Facebook page and the website probably, and so you can kind of see and keep along with us. But essentially what we're going to do is we've taken the top 32 of this conglomeration of 10 top 32 horror movies, and we're going to go through and we're going to tourney style them until we come out with the winner. So tonight we are starting with Josh and my region. And we're just going to kick it off, and let's start with Josh's. And our first matchup here is number 1 seed Psycho versus Scream.
So Psycho and Scream were both for their time very, what's the word I'm looking
Revolutionary?
for? Yeah, kind of like, Scream re-sparked horror, for our generation. But Psycho had this effect on people. Always will be considered a classic, and I'm not sure Scream will really live in that same classic kind of realm as Psycho does. But if I had to pick one to move on, I would pick Scream.
And see, I actually agree with you. I've seen, quick preface, all the names that you hear on here are the originals. There are no remakes, absolutely none. Back to the point. I've seen both the original and the remake of Psycho. I never really got into it. I don't see the appeal I get the appeal, but I don't know that it holds as well as people say that it do. And again, that's my personal opinion. I hope somebody else has a differing opinion because I'd love to hear it. But for me, I sit on the Scream side. I want to see Scream. I feel like it's a better movie.
Yeah, Psycho is also the only, I believe the only film that kills the main character off in like the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a film that's come out that's done that since.
Interesting.
Which is, again, that's a whole thing. That's a big thing that people remember about that movie is they killed off the lead character in that first 20 minutes. And then the shower scene and the music and everything that goes along with it. I mean, there's kids that have never seen that movie that know when you're doing the sound and the knife, they know what it's from. They've never even seen that movie.
Exactly. But to that same point, you could call somebody up and say, hey, what's your favorite scary movie? And you get the exact same thing on that. So,
100%.
They're both very iconic movies for what they are. I personally just like Scream a little bit better. So
I think it's definitely a generational thing. In, talking with my folks about the movie, about Psycho, they said it was one of the most disturbing things they'd ever seen in their life. They're not horror fans, obviously. And I think if they were to see modern horror now, that would freak the shit out of them if they actually watch
they would need
things
therapy.
like that. Exactly. So we're talking a generation that wasn't used to seeing stuff like this on the screen. So how that affected them is the same way that we were affected when we saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Halloween for the first time. So it is a generational thing. To Josh's point, I do believe both of them do have historical importance. You say Scream may drop off a few generations from now. I don't believe so because it is so historically important that they not necessarily revive, but it just got that energy going again for modern day horror. I mean, it reintroduced the slasher and everything else. I think Scream will hold up just as well as Psycho in the future. For my personal preference, Scream moves on.
Okay.
I actually was going to go with Psycho, and not because I think they're both fantastic movies. I think these were kind of odd ones to put up against each other because Scream does kind of have a comedy element. I don't think Psycho is funny at all.
No.
Because we all know people like that. That you're like, oh shit, I think this guy's got his mom's like titty in a box under his bed. We all know someone like that.
Yeah, don't check my office.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
But I'm also a little biased because I love 40s, 50s, and 60s horror.
Sure.
I love that black and white look. I love the look of it, the contrast, everything. And just to me, Psycho is so iconic. So I'm going to have to go Psycho, but obviously I am.
Well, no, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here is we're just trying to get a discussion going here. And, I'm not trying to say that Psycho is the lesser movie. Just what our preference is. And that's ultimately what this is going to be, is the preference of what our preferences, I guess.
Yeah, and everybody listening, feel free to chime in and tell us how wrong we are on our site, too.
Yeah.
You guys are picking the wrong ones.
Yeah, comment, tweet us, whatever you kids do. What do they call it when they comment on Instagram? Slide into our DMs. Is that what the kids say?
We'll go with that. Clearly, we're not young.
Yeah, I was going to say.
All right. Jumping down to our next matchup, we have Friday the 13th versus The Fly.
Would The Fly be considered body horror?
I didn't know that was...
I almost consider it a creature feature. And
is it creature feature?
That actually brought up something. When you said that Psycho and Scream were weird things to put up against each other, that was my purpose when I put this bracket together, was I didn't want like slashers going up against slashers and psychologicals going up against psychologicals. I wanted the best of the best going up against the best of the
Okay.
best. So that was my purpose here. You're not going to see, at least for the first round, you're not going to see two subgenres going up against each other. And if you do, I apologize, but I must have missed that one. So Friday the 13th versus The Fly, slasher versus creature feature.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have an explanation for these two going up against each other. I mean, Jeff Goldblum was great in The Fly. The Fly is an okay movie. I don't love it. And Friday the 13th is considered like the very first like real slasher movie. I'm just going to go with Friday the 13th.
Okay.
That's just, I have no other explanation.
The
for
only
it.
argument I have against what you're saying is that Jeff Goldblum was not the original Fly. There was one in 1958.
Okay, I was going with The Fly, the Jeff Goldblum version. That's the only real version I know. So I guess I know.
Right, and I had
That was my bad.
not seen the 58 version as well. I'm not familiar with it at all, but I do know that because you had said we're going with originals. So
Okay, that was my bad
just
then.
because I hadn't seen the original one, I do have to use the Jeff Goldblum version of it.
Yeah.
And I still think Friday the 13th is a better horror film than The Fly.
Okay.
However, the special effects in The Fly for when it was done was fucking amazing.
Yeah, we're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also going to have to go with Friday the 13th. It does have a really special place in my heart because this is my first slasher movie and one of the first actual horror movies that I'd ever seen. So, yeah, Friday the 13th.
I have personally not seen The Fly, either version, any version, really, so I will default with Friday the 13th.
Now, what's great is now second round now, Scream's going to go up against Friday the 13th, which is,
Yeah, we're a fight.
sorry.
That was the whole point. Next, we have another slasher here. This is actually an add-in from Josh. We've got, actually, both of these are Nightmare on Elm Street up against Amityville Horror.
Nightmare was not a...
You're right. I
addition
apologize.
for
Yours
me.
was Friday the 13th, wasn't it?
It was
Was the
Friday
other
the 13th.
added?
Yeah,
Got
was.
it. I apologize. I got that goofed up.
I'm going to have to go with Nightmare on Elm Street. I love Freddy as a character, and I love horror with just a tiny bit of humor in it. And I think Freddy is funny, not attractive, as we talked about on our on one of our last podcasts.
Do not be confused.
Yeah, let me just.
Oh, that was a
draw
weird discussion.
That was strange. I am praying for Miss Dorothy's neighbor, wherever she
Right.
is.
Yeah, and if you're interested in listening to that conversation, look back at our bonus episode of Women in Horror Month.
Yeah, real fun times there. But yeah, I'm going to have to go with Nightmare on Elm Street. And a lot of it is for the same reasons as Friday the 13th. It was one of my first, horror movies. So it's always going to be a little special for me.
I'm going to actually side with that as well. I felt Nightmare on Elm Street had, I don't want to say comical like it was laughable, but there was a comic element to it just with how Freddy was as a character. I think that leveled up on the creepiness and the scare factor of what Nightmare on Elm Street was and what he was able to do as the villain in there. And that's, I thought, was just absolutely fascinating idea that a killer could haunt your dreams and actually kill you in your dreams. That's just an incredible idea for a horror film. So I'm siding with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right. Well, and for me, once again, I hadn't seen the original 1958 version of Nightmare on Elm Street. So I have to, I like how everybody's looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, to your point, Greg, is both of these movies introduced something brand new to me. Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously, someone who's haunting your dreams. That was brand new and that was fucked up. And it's like, I watched that movie and that truly freaked my shit out. I walked away from that movie completely unnerved. However, so did Amityville Horror because it was one of the first times I was introduced to a possessed house. We're talking pure evil in a house. With Friday the 13th, or excuse me, Nightmare on Elm Street, here's this character, but in this one, it's actual evil. So for me, I'm putting my bets on Amityville Horror.
Okay.
Yeah, the cool thing is like both these movies are based off of like kind of true stories. Like Wes Craven heard, I don't remember where it was from. And
It was a sleep study, wasn't it? All those,
I believe it was.
yeah, it was a bunch
I
of
believe
people
it
that were
was.
dying in their sleep. It was like a group of Asian Polynesians, something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
They're from Thailand, I believe.
Yeah, something
like that. One of the,
But-
yeah.
And Amityville, horror, quote unquote, actually happened. Was a real life event, and the book is fucking terrifying.
Yeah, the book is really good.
I
But
need to read it.
the Nightmare on Elm Street's got a bunch of really great iconic imagery in it. The Amityville Horror is just fucking scary. So I'm going with the Amityville Horror.
Do we have a
Ooh,
tie?
I have a tie, and I'm actually just looking this up. right now to see what you think a good tiebreaker would be.
Now, if it's in the person's bracket, should they be able to choose the tiebreaker?
We could go with that way. I was looking up the star rating on IMDb.
That's what I was going to check.
Okay, cool.
I can check out Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, we need a way to stall them to break this tiebreaker. What would if anybody's out there in Facebook world listening, what would you pick? Maybe we comment on that and let us know what you would choose.
Absolutely.
Let us know that the Amityville Horror is the better movie to choose. Go ahead, just say it. It's fine.
My thing is like, which one is like scarier? Like, you can move away from a fucking house. You can't move away from like Dream Demon fucking your shit up.
Right.
That is 100% true that you can get out of the house.
What you can escape
And
from easier.
I've never understood that about like haunted house movies. People who are like, oh my God, what do you do? It's like, move, burn the house down. That's what I'd be doing. Or you know what? If it's just something like slamming doors, I wouldn't give a shit, especially if you get like 10, 15, 20 grand off the house and they're like, hey, there's some like dead person in here. I'd be like, that's fine.
Yeah, I just like I said, we're talking about movies that had like a real effect for me, just me personally. Like Amityville Horror to this day is one of those movies
that still bothers you.
I mean, if I were to
Oh,
compare
it does.
Amityville, the original, with the Ryan Reynolds version of it, I would go Ryan Reynolds all the way.
You
would.
Would you really? Is that just because he has a shirt off the whole fucking time?
You fucking know it.
Yeah.
I actually like the Ryan Reynolds Amityville Horror. Like, I mean, that does like put some extra little peanut butter on that sandwich. It was great.
That mixes the peanut butter with the jam.
But I don't know. I liked his version. I like the original too. But I know he did a really good job. Added a lot to the story.
Oh, that was magic.
Do we have to go with the Ryan Reynolds version just for the fucking Amityville Horror to move on? 'Cause I'll do that if I have
Okay,
to.
so
what do you got, Patrick?
Rotten Tomatoes, Nightmare on Elm Street by a huge margin.
And that's what IMDb has is 7.5 star versus 6.2. So we'll have Nightmare move on if you guys are all right with that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
All right.
No, I'm not okay with it, but whatever.
The people have spoken, Patrick.
They have.
Keep dreaming about
That was the one I was going to fight the hardest for too. That
Sorry.
hey, you know what? IMDb has spoken, and it knows better than I do.
Yeah,
right.
all the people on Rotten Tomatoes know better than you, Josh.
Clearly.
Our last matchup in the Josh region is 28 Days Later versus Let the Right One In.
This one to me is really hard because I do really like both of these movies. As I've said before, I'm not the biggest fan of zombie movies, but the 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later series I really like because the zombies are actually scary because they can chase you.
They're fucking rage zombies.
Yeah, they're
Right.
rage zombies. And as I said, I have a little love for anything based on rabies. But I'm actually going to go on this one with Let the Right One In just because I liked it as a new kind of vampire movie. It was just really elegant and it was a little bit of a slow burn, but no, it's just really elegant and really, interesting to have like a young child vampire was just, I don't know, but it's also something to me that kind of lives just outside the horror realm because it wasn't a scary movie by any means.
That pool scene was kind of terrifying, I thought.
Okay, well,
Just throwing that out there.
but no, I'm going to vote for Let the Right One In.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, 28 Days Later was the first time you ever saw these things run. And that was it. Just some straight fire for me. So Let the Right One In. I didn't finish. I didn't watch the whole thing. I've never gotten through it.
Did you ever see Let Me In?
I did not.
No? Okay. It's basically a
So-
shot-for-shot remake.
Exactly, yeah. I knew that much. But yeah, 28 Days Later is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I got to go with 28 Days Later. Both really, really good movies. I just think that I'm more entertained by something that just keeps going and going and going and just attacks me. So yeah, 28 Days Later for me.
And kind of, I could be the deciding factor, or I could be the tying factor here, because this was one of the harder ones for me to choose because I did like both of them equally as well. I really appreciated Let the Right One In just because it is a foreign horror film, and I feel like how it was set just added to the ambiance and the environment of the movie, but it was really a sweet movie for what it was, and I really appreciated that. But I do have to go with 28 Days Later just because it is rage zombies. And it's the first time you see these things run, and you see these things run and you're just like, oh, fuck. Like, I can't even run away from these things anymore. It's game over at this point. So 28 Days Later is my choice.
Yeah, and I'm totally happy with losing because these were both good movies.
Right.
Well,
Like,
and I just checked Rotten Tomatoes in case we had the tie. Rotten Tomatoes has let the right one in at 90% and 28 days later at 85%.
All right. Let's go ahead and go into the next round so that we can go into the quarterfinals when we come back to this side. So let's jump back up to the top really quick. Scream versus Friday the 13th.
Yeah, again, both considered slasher movies. Again, Friday the 13th is considered the first slasher movie, but Scream is considered the resurgence of slasher movies. It's tough. I'm going to stick with Friday the 13th.
Okay.
same. Yeah, I'm going to stick with Friday the 13th.
Ooh. Patrick?
I'm in the same boat.
Really?
Yep.
Damn. I was actually going to take Scream, but
Well, you can still take Scream and
I'm
you'll
going
lose.
to. No, I'm going to take Scream just because I feel like it was a better slasher, or at least I appreciated it a little bit more. But again, that's just me, and I have terrible taste.
A nice little slasher with a twist.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Which is that was a cool thing with
Technically, so was Friday the 13th.
Well, and I also
That's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
So you're basically pinning the 1970. Okay, let me ask. When did Friday the 13th come out?
Is it 82? 81? 80? Okay.
So
May,
and they
it was
call it
May
the first.
13th, 1980.
Oh, nice.
Can't even fight with her. She just knows the exact fucking date.
That's hard to argue.
Come after me.
She could be making shit up, and we just go whatever. Maddie says, man.
that's true.
Whatever Maddie
And they
says.
call this the first slasher movie, even though Halloween came out before this.
Yeah, they consider Friday the 13th the first true slasher movie.
Interesting. So yeah, you're talking 20, 30 years in between the two, but it's basically the same kind of movie.
Yeah.
So interesting. All right, Friday the 13th moves on. Moving on. Oh, I'm gonna hate this one. Nightmare on Elm Street versus
Wow.
28 Days Later.
Just for my brain and the fact that the way my brain works and the way like I get bored very easily talking about a movie that's keeping my attention, I would go with 28 Days Later.
Sure.
But are you really going to ask Maddie what she's going to vote for? Because we just know.
Well, I always want Freddy versus Jason to happen, so I'm going with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah, when it comes down to
Yeah.
when it comes down to just pure entertainment factor, I think I do have to edge Nightmare slightly over 28 Days. Oh gosh, this is a tough one for me because 28 Days probably disturbs me more than Nightmare, but Nightmare as an entertainment factor and the overall franchise probably goes into my decision, and I'm going to say Nightmare.
Nightmare on Elm Street, though, really didn't even become like truly funny until like 3 or 4 movies in.
Yeah.
Freddy was considered a serious
Yeah.
villain until they started getting all MTV jokey with him.
And that just shows you why sequels should not happen with
I mean, really?
horror
Yeah,
movies.
What is it?
because they
Freddy
just
versus
screw 'em up.
Jason is just full of one-liners
It
for
is.
Freddy
It's
all the
so
way through.
great.
Yeah, it is. So wait, we got 2. We got
2 and 1.
okay, cool.
Oh, God.
Greg's the
Greg.
deciding factor
Oh,
here.
God.
Craig, make the right choice.
Yeah, I knew this was going to happen. This is going to be a tough one because I obviously love Nightmare. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And going up against Rage Zombies and 28 Days Later. But I want to see it happen too. I'm going with Nightmare.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So when I looked at my bracket when we first started doing this is not how I saw this bracket going at all. So I'm a little bit I'm not upset at all because this is fucking cool, but it's surprising to see the bracket end in such a weird standoff. So
It's
And-
kind of an iconic standoff.
Yeah.
They made a fucking movie about it. So yeah, when we return to the Josh bracket, we have literally Jason versus Freddy.
Yeah.
Let's swing over into the Greg bracket, which this is going to be an interesting one. Very interesting. So
So I know the way Maddie's going to vote on the first one.
yeah, do we
Yeah,
have to
there's no
we have to
question.
really
We don't
vote?
even have to talk to her.
first matchup in the Greg bracket is Night of the Living Dead versus Hellraiser. Maddie picks Hellraiser. Josh, what do you got?
No, let her, we know, but let her speak
No,
up.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm going to pick Hellraiser.
No explanation needed.
Interesting thoughts.
I talk, like every other podcast, I talk about how much I love Hellraiser. I don't think I need
I think
to
you
go
mentioned
into
Hellraiser in every single podcast.
I
You
have,
bring-
and
you
I'm
find a
going
way
to do it
bring in.
again. Yeah. No, of course I love Hellraiser.
That was actually when I was putting these together and I saw those two pinned up against each other. I thought, oh God, Maddie's going to either go with that one or she's going to have a hell of a time trying to pick those two. But it's a zombie movie, the original zombie movie. So
And I do like Night of the Living Dead. But hello.
Yeah, I mean, George Romero is, again, always going to have a place in my heart, so I'm going to go with Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead was probably the first horror movie that I'd ever seen. And it has had an effect on me. However, I'm going to have to throw my hat in the ring for Hellraiser. Because when I saw Hellraiser, that shit had more of an effect on me than Night of the Living Dead did.
And Night of the Living did have the historic tones also with the race and stuff like that, as far as how it was cast and being looked down upon because of the way it was cast.
But it wasn't just a horror movie; it was commentary. Yeah, it was a social commentary.
Yeah,
movie.
very much. And all of his movies are, but that was,
but that one very specifically.
Yeah.
Josh, I don't know if you remember a while back, we did we used to do a podcast called the Greg the Movie Guy Movie Review Podcast, or the Movie Cast. You remember this?
Yeah.
Do you remember the really, really embarrassing episode where we went through the AMC Top 50 and talked about the movies we hadn't seen?
Yeah.
I'm kind of in that boat again here because I have not seen either of these movies.
What?
Oh my God.
Fuck.
I'm a brand new shade of red. So I have a little bit of a tough time picking on this one, but I'm going to actually go with Night of the Living Dead, only because I appreciate George Romero and what he did. Not saying that Hellraiser is a bad movie, because I absolutely want to see it. I love the character of Pinhead. Just the look of him looks fucking terrifying. So we, I believe, have a tie. Patrick?
Yeah,
what do we got?
I'm looking them up. So talk amongst yourselves.
I want to know a little bit of, I guess, background as far as like your obsession with Hellraiser, kind of, Maddie.
I don't fucking know. Like,
Okay.
I don't know why this movie is so
I was curious
interesting to me.
because
but
it's kind of a slow burn movie. Also, like Hellraiser doesn't move that fast.
it's short. I feel like from beginning to end, like they get their points
Gotcha.
going,
It is a
and
shorter
like
movie.
what. Were you asking why I decided to tattoo it on my leg?
No. Well, no, I was just
I mean, that
curious.
kind of adds to the point, but
No, we just know you're fucking weird. So
what do we got?
the
Patrick?
numbers came in, and Night of the Living Dead moves on.
Okay, I can live with that.
So our next matchup is, Evil Dead versus Last Shift.
That's a no-brainer for me, Last Shift, because I'm looking at this as pure horror. I enjoy it. That's my vote.
I'm going to go with Evil Dead.
Okay.
Last Shift.
All right. As it was my my drop in, I want to see Last Shift move on. So, sorry, Josh.
I don't care.
Yeah, he's going to get up and walk away.
Fuck you, non-Evil Dead fans.
There's glass on the table. I don't want to see anything broken or anybody injured.
No.
Shanked in the neck.
All right. Next one was another substitute that I had thrown in. I can't remember what was in here first, but we have American Werewolf in London versus The Strangers. Nobody jump at once.
Go ahead. Go, Greg.
I would say for me, The Strangers introduced home invasion to me, and I love that subgenre of horror. American Werewolf in London has not aged well with me. I go back and watch it, and I don't enjoy it as much as I have in the past or when it first came out. So my vote is for The Strangers.
If you're voting for fucking badass werewolf transformations, then you would vote for American Werewolf in London. But if you're voting for fucking just really good movies, I'm going to go with The Strangers.
I have not gotten around to rewatching The Strangers yet. So I'm going to go with American Werewolf in London because I do really like that movie. I think it's fun. And because, as I've said, I don't hate The Strangers, but it is a slow burn. So.
Fair. I'm kind of in that same boat where, I mean, obviously Strangers is one of my all-time favorites, but I haven't seen American Werewolf in London in a hot minute. That transformation is unreal.
Iconic.
Absolutely unreal what they were able to do with that. And I don't even remember when that movie came out. For that reason, I should pick, or for that one scene alone, I should pick Werewolf, but I'm going to go with Strangers. Yeah. So this next matchup is one I've been waiting for a while, and I'm waiting to hear your response to this one, Josh. We have Texas Chainsaw Massacre versus the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah. Who's going to go? Go ahead.
Are you all looking at
We're
me?
all looking at each other. We're going to see who's going to pull the
jump in
trigger on this one.
I'll jump in first here. Based on pure staying power, I feel like Texas Chainsaw Massacre should move on, just because it is considered one of those more iconic horror films in the realm of like the legacy horror movies. So not necessarily the Draculas and Frankensteins, but
Yeah.
the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm moving forward with Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I mean, of all of them on here, the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Streets, I feel like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the better of all of them. Mm-hmm. And the sheer like experience everybody had to go through to make the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and how miserable it was on that set. And Leatherface is an iconic character, mm-hmm. but the fucking marketing and the genius behind the Blair Witch Project is really tough to beat. Mm-hmm. And when you convince so many people to walk into a theater and watch that movie as if that shit's real, you got something going. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the Blair Witch Project.
Interesting. Okay.
I have to agree with Josh. Just because of the pure marketing genius behind it, they took this movie that cost them what?
Nothing.
$30,000 to make, and they made millions on it and convinced a nation that this shit was real, that this actually happened. The websites they had set up looked legit. They knew how to do this, and they ushered in the subgenre of found footage. I mean, they weren't the first ones to do it, but they were the ones who put it on the map.
This is a hard one for me, too. I will say, although I love Leatherface as a character, I actually don't like the original Texas Chainsaw because that woman who would not stop screaming the entire last 40 minutes, I was like, bitch, shut up. Like, I'd kill you too. Like, are you kidding me? Like, if you just had somebody sitting in the back of your car shrieking that long, oh yeah, I don't care who you are, if you're a killer or whatever, I'd like swerve into the median. But just because of the viral marketing and everything that went into Blair Witch and how little, I'm gonna have to go with Blair Witch. Yeah. If this was the remake of Texas Chainsaw, I would probably have a little bit.
The Jessica Biel remake?
It's Jessica Alba. And
it's Jessica Biel.
Is it?
Yep.
It is.
I can't tell those hoes apart. Sorry, ladies.
All right, so we're going to move on to the next round in the Greg bracket here. We've got Night of the Living Dead versus Last Shift.
I mean, again, George Romero fan. Look, Last Shift had an effect. Like, the first time I watched The Last Shift, I wasn't so much uncomfortable. It was just like, well, I guess, I might have been a little bit uncomfortable. It's a nice, eerie, atmospheric movie. Mm-hmm. But again, if I'm talking about, like, movies that are, like, real classics and movies that, like, have, like, a real effect on society and, a historical factor, I'm going to go with Night of the Living Dead.
Sure.
For me personally, once again, it's about me watching it, being in the moment. How is it going to affect me right now? Night of the Living Dead would be purely nostalgic. Mm-hmm. So I'm going with The Last Shift because I could probably watch that again for the 15th time and still have it kind of freak my shit a little bit.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Last Shift as well. I really like that movie.
All right, that's fair. Damn it comes down to me now. This is a tough decision for me. Obviously, I had substituted in Last Shift because it was one of the last horror movies that truly terrified me, which I think there's something to be said about that, especially the horror movies that are being made now, which are either half entertaining or half garbage. But you can't ignore what George Romero did for a franchise and what that did for movies in the society. So I'm really kind of tripping up on this one here. I'm going to have to go with Night of the Living Dead.
So we're tied again?
We are tied again.
We're tied, and I'm
going to guarantee Nightmare, good lord. Night of the Living Dead is probably better.
Yes, I already did the homework here. Night of the Living Dead will move on.
Okay.
We're talking 7.9 to 5.8 and 89% to 50%.
Oh, God. The next and the last matchup we have in our topic this evening is The Strangers versus Blair Witch Project. And I put projects. I don't know why I did that. The Blair Witch Project.
I'd see that movie too.
Right?
Yeah. We're coming to pop a cap in your ass.
All right. What do we got? The Strangers or the Blair Witch Project?
This will be a tough one for me. If the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was not that tough a choice for me with this one. Blair Witch versus The Strangers. Mm-hmm.
Two of your all-time favorites.
Really fucking tough.
Sure.
Again, you go with the marketing of the Blair Witch Project, mm-hmm. and how smart it was. But The Strangers is like a movie that I could watch on any given night. Fuck, I'm going to go with The Strangers.
Okay.
Kind of a tough one for me, just as I said, because I haven't given Strangers the chance it deserves. I will probably have to go with Blair Witch Project just because it really put, as you said, found footage on the map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just
for the sake of it, I I'm going to go with The Strangers. I appreciate what the Blair Witch Project did and how it got to where it got to. But The Strangers was just I thought it was a great movie for what they did. So that's what I'm moving forward with.
I won't even be mad at which one wins this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even I care,
Exactly.
but I will
So-
not. I'll never be mad.
So we have 2 for Strangers, 1 for Blair Witch, correct?
That's 100% correct.
Right. So I can either tie or move something on. And I'm going to have to go with Blair Witch, which ties it. So doing the homework,
Oh, to have the power.
it's really freaking close. Okay. Strangers 6.2, Blair Witch 6.4.
Oh my God.
Rotten Tomatoes has Strangers 47, Blair Witch 55, moving Blair Witch
forward.
into the next bracket.
Fantastic.
All right, so that concludes the first couple rounds of the first couple brackets. Come back next episode. We're not done, obviously. And we will go through the Patrick bracket and we'll go through the Maddie bracket. The following episode after that, we will go through the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals and figure out what Midnight Frights cast feels is the greatest horror movie of all time. Moving along, we watched a movie, After.Life. Patrick, you got the deets.
Yes, I have the deets. After.Life 2009, currently free on Vudu, and you can rent it on several of the streaming services out there, running, I believe, an hour 38. After a horrific car crash, a young teacher awakes at a mortuary slab. The funeral director convinces her she is not alive, but transitioning into the spirit world. Is he telling the truth? ? IMDb rating 5.9, Metascore rating 36%.
Oh.
Rotten Tomatoes critic rating 25%. Rotten Tomatoes audience rating 32%. Let's talk about this movie.
Let's do it. I would think we should start with Greg because he chose the movie.
Is it weird that I kind of want to end up in the penalty box? This is my payback for revenge.
It is.
My revenge for revenge. No, that wasn't the case at all.
I don't think this is a penalty box movie at all, really.
Yeah, no.
I stumbled across this movie. Actually, somebody recommended it to me, and I completely had forgotten about it. And going back and rewatching it, what I really appreciated about this movie was basically Liam Neeson. I think he was the driving force behind this. He is the creepiest son of a bitch. Wow. Just wow. I liked how he drove this movie and basically how he was interacting with basically him and Christina Ricci in there, convincing her that, hey, you're dead, you're just transitioning, and you get to hang out with me until I send you on into the next world. It's just an incredibly interesting story to think of what would happen if you were in that position and somebody's sitting there trying to convince you, no, you're actually dead, you're just hanging out until you move on into the next world. I really appreciated that part of it, or that aspect of it. That was the reason I had chosen it. It's not necessarily a super horror movie, but it has horrific elements in it, and I think that warrants a watch on our cast. So
Sure. I watched the movie last year based on Greg's recommendation. So I had already seen this film, but I rewatched it anyway, because the first time I saw it, I remember coming on here and talking about how it was really confusing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it feels like it doesn't know what it wants to be and which direction it really wanted to go. And so I was having a hard time, I guess, following along with, is she dead? Is she not dead? Mm-hmm. What is going on in this movie? The cast is great. Justin Long, Liam Neeson, Christina Ricci. I feel like Justin Long gets stuck in this boyfriend typecast situation a lot in every movie he's in. But he was good in the movie. Liam Neeson, you touched on, he was great. He was creepy. Mm-hmm. Christina Ricci is Christina Ricci in the movie.
Is Christina Ricci naked in the movie for quite a lot of it?
Was she? I must have watched a different version of this movie.
Oh,
she was not naked in the movie that I watched.
Yeah, I was going to
Really?
say, are you shitting me? I've seen her breasts more than mine now.
Nope. She was not naked in the movie that I watched at all.
Seriously? Wow.
Nope. She had her red nighty on.
I get it.
Oh,
I get
yeah.
it. eBeth is listening right now. Okay.
Son of a bitch.
busted.
So that bus just drove right over. But so atmospherically, the movie's really good. The ending, again, we got to the end, and I was like, what is she? It never really answered it for me. And I guess I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, or I don't know if it answered for you guys, or if you guys have an answer. If you do, give it to me. I'll take it, because apparently I need to be spoon-fed the ending to this movie.
I do, but I'll hold on to it for now.
Yeah.
I'll tell everybody towards the end, but I want to hear everybody's thoughts.
Well, and I pulled something directly from the movie, one of Liam Neeson's lines that I think explains the entire thing. I saw this movie when it first came out on DVD through Netflix DVD, and we rented it, we saw it, and my initial reaction back then was, eh. And so I rewatched it because it's been several years. It came out in 2009, and I rewatched it, and I had a similar reaction. I went, nah. I thought the acting was good, the cinematography was good. It just wasn't a movie that really kept me entranced in the whole thing.
Sure.
Justin Long, I do want to touch on him, though. I don't think he was given a great character to work with. He was kind of an asshole, but he was asked to really care about Christina Ricci's character, and he did break down. His emotions in this movie, I think he really went for broke on this movie, but I don't think he was given enough character information in order to make his character really great in this movie.
I said that typecast.
Right, exactly.
He's an asshole boyfriend in Tusk. He's an asshole boyfriend in Drag Me to Hell. He's an asshole boyfriend in After.Life. He's stuck in that
typecasted
type. I mean, the only movie I've seen him in that he wasn't really that was Dodgeball.
Dodgeball, where he's trying to be the boyfriend.
Oh my God,
So,
Dodgeball.
I mean, he's just kind of
That's
stuck.
another podcast altogether.
Yeah,
Anyway.
he's just kind of stuck in that spot.
Right.
Sorry
right.
for interrupting. But
No, not at all. So, like I said, for me, it was kind of a middle of the road movie where it's not something I would probably rewatch again, but I did enjoy it as I was going through.
So I watched this for the first time. I've actually never heard of this movie. But right away, I knew Greg picked it, and I don't mean that as an insult, so don't even look at me like that.
Technically, I have not picked a movie on this cast, so.
Okay, but like just from hearing you talk about the movies you do like and giving your opinions on it, I was like, oh, I can tell Greg picked this movie. Just because there's a lot of really beautiful shots in this movie right off the bat. There was quite a lot. Like I loved that white contrast in the beginning. And just kind of like those shots, like when she's getting her hair dyed, like that looked really cool.
When it looks like it's blood dripping down. It's actually the hair dye. That was a cool shot.
Yeah, that was a beautiful shot. And also, like, it wasn't super gory. You don't seem like you're into that. So, I didn't really know exactly what to think about this movie. I did enjoy it. I probably wouldn't watch it again. But the acting in here was fantastic. But as you said, Justin Long's character kind of was a little one-dimensional. But also seeing him in a suit really threw me off because he looks like he's 12, and he's always looked like he's 12.
He's got such a boyish face. It's hard for him to age up and play more mature characters.
Yeah, I think like he's one of those people. I think if you slapped a beard on him, like it would put like 10 years on him. He could get like some more roles, not being the asshole boyfriend. I thought the acting in here was really good. It was interesting seeing Liam Neeson in this type of role because I don't see him in a lot of horror type stuff. He did a really good job. I was like, ew. Like, ew. When I die, I hope I just go up in flames because I don't want any funeral director touching me. Christina Ricci and her breasts did a really great job in this movie.
See, Liam Neeson didn't creep me out as much as the cop that came in to check
that was disgusting. I was like, excuse me, because I thought he was like actually going over to like be like, oh, I saw her move. Is she really dead? And then he's like, yeah. I'm kind of like Josh. I was really confused at the end about what was actually going on. I kind of had a way I was leaning. But yeah, I do like movies that kind of keep you guessing. I mean, there was a lot of stuff in there that I was like, so I definitely lean toward more one side than the other. But yeah, I think it was a decent movie.
Yeah. What side were you leaning towards?
I didn't think she was dead.
Okay.
Which way were you leaning, Josh?
The whole movie, you'd sit there and go, she's not dead. I don't know. I got to the end and I was like, I have no idea. I mean, they have that shot at the end where he's just about to take her to, she's in the casket and she breathes on the mirror and you go, okay, she's not dead, right? I don't know. There's some spots in there where it can go either way.
Yeah, because there was two times she breathed on a mirror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he did it. And there was also, like when she trashes his room.
Yeah.
and he comes in and says, what did you do? So like there was obviously some physical things going on there, but then you're wondering, okay, is that a physical manifestation of the spiritual world? Blah, 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 blah.
But then she also calls him, and I don't know if this is a bad connection or if he really couldn't hear her. Mm-hmm. And then there's the spot where there's spots where he hears her. And so it's like, is that her communicating from the other side? Mm-hmm. Or it does a nice job throwing you for loops. There's
also like when that other body was in there and he was like talking to it and kind of being freaking strange. Mm-hmm. But you're just seeing it and the corpse isn't reacting at all. But the old woman who was dead previously was in there.
Yeah,
and Christina Ricci was
the woman that kept saying, you're not ready. You're not. She's combing her hair.
Yeah. And like she was able to like communicate with her, but you don't know if that, because he keeps injecting stuff. And like, I'm sorry, I don't really think you do that to a dead body. I mean, you embalm a body and that's kind of it. You don't need to like keep embalming it. If you did a good job, you should only have to do it one time. Yeah. And then
maybe he's a half-ass mortician.
Yeah, I mean, and then there was also, didn't like a white van run her off the road, and he was driving a white van. Yeah, yep. A white rapist van. And so I definitely was leaning more towards that kid was obnoxious, though.
You know, that's the other thing. The kid element thrown in there, it was almost like a Sixth Sense type situation there, because I couldn't tell if the kid could see dead people or he just saw people and he was just a really twisted, morbid kid.
Yeah. Was his mom dead? Because, like, they showed her once and, like, they just showed, like, a back shot and it was almost like a Psycho thing.
She was definitely sick or something. She did not look healthy at all.
Yeah, and they didn't really show, like, her moving or anything, so this kid could just be, like, strange. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I have no idea either way. Greg,
Greg, your thoughts. I think we've been talking for a while.
Well, and I kind of gave you my thoughts. You know, I love Liam Neeson's character in this. I think as the mortician, kind of playing the mythological boatman, ferrying souls to the other side, I think he does a fantastic job with. And kind of like you said, and I appreciate you elaborating on how you knew this was a movie that I like, because there's a lot of beautiful shots, and not that I have shit taste in movies.
No,
I appreciate you elaborating on that.
I was gonna say it's just you were trying to crank out another Greg the Movie Guy movie just to get your, you know.
Well, that too, but no, there were a lot of beautiful shots in this, and that I really appreciated about this movie. But what I'm going to do is I have a pretty positive idea on how this movie plays out for those who are questioning. And I'm glad that you guys had questions on here, because that was my whole plan, was to get a dialogue and a discussion going on. Is she, isn't she, this, that, and the other thing. So if you are any remotely chance interested in checking out After.Life with Liam Neeson, Christina Ricci, and Justin Long, I'm going to tell you to blank out for the next 5 minutes or so, because I'm going to spoil the crap out of this. So
it's St. Patrick's Day. They're all blanked out. I mean, it is 7:30 on St. Patrick's Day.
It's not going to go live tonight. So
I mean, for the people watching.
Yeah, for the people watching.
For the kids watching at home. After you're done throwing up in an alley,
right,
please.
So, spoiler alerts are coming. 3, 2, 1. You are correct. She is alive. What he is injecting her with is a chemical that knocks her out for probably about an hour or so. Mm-hmm. And she comes to, he can kind of control when people come and see her and how all that works. Obviously, the breath on the mirror is a huge tell that she's alive. Her destroying his lab work area, whatever you want to call that down there. The biggest thing, though, and I don't know if anybody caught this, was he took a picture of every corpse that he morticianized. I don't know what I want to call it.
Embalmed.
We'll go with that. Prepared for the services. There were some pictures that he had where people had their eyes closed, others that had their eyes opened. The ones who had their eyes opened were alive.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that was there was a quick shot, I think, introducing his character when he was doing that, and there's a shot at the end where it shows the wall of all the pictures of people he is, we'll call morticianized. Prepared. Okay. So, and there's a bunch of them that have eyes open and eyes closed. So all the ones that had their eyes open were alive. And
did he? Okay, so I might have been drinking watching this movie.
I'd be shocked if you weren't.
Yeah. Was there a shot, speaking of that little kid, there was a shot of a younger kid next to his like little freaky wall of collections, and it looked like that little boy.
I didn't catch that part.
I did not catch that.
Yeah, it was like a younger boy, and it looked like, I apologize. All kids under the age of 12 kind of look the same to me. But there was a shot of like one of his pictures of like a little boy, and it looked like that little freaky kid that kept following him around. So like if anybody does watch that again, I couldn't tell you what part it was in, but like I swear there was like a little kid, and that was another thing that kind of gave me pause.
Yeah.
Like, is this kid like coming back to haunt him? You know what I mean? Like, would you stop putting dead bodies in the ground, man?
I think it's just a creepy fucking kid. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go back and I'll check that out and see what I can figure out.
Was Justice Long's character then dead or alive at the end of this?
He was alive.
He was alive.
And he fucking killed him in front of the kid. Yeah. The one line in this movie that made me convinced that Liam Neeson was killing these people is he had a very specific line. He said, "Don't you see? I have no choice. I'm the only one who can see all these corpses wandering the earth aimlessly. All they do is piss and shit, suffocating us with their stench, doing nothing with their lives, taking the air away from those who actually want to live. I have to bury them all. I have no choice." So basically he's saying all the people who are wasting everybody else's life and time needs to die, and he's the one to bury them.
It's a very Jigsaw mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Excellent. So we rate movies on 3 separate categories. We rate on scare factor, on gore factor, and on an overall. As far as a scare factor, what do we got?
Nothing.
I can never give a movie a 0, so 1.
Yeah, I'm the same as Josh. I can't give a 0, so it's a 1.
I have given 0s, but it was more out of spite than anything. I'll give it a 1.
What, was that revenge?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Weird.
But no, this movie is not scary in the least bit. So
gore score.
Gore score.
1 again.
Same thing, 1.
1? I give it, yeah, probably. Well, yeah, I'll give it a 1.
0.5? Was there even any gore in here?
Well, that's more than 0.
I feel like there was a wound or something. Yeah, because she had to sew up.
She ripped out her heart was another one. And
Yeah.
So there was a little bit, but just not much at all.
It showed blood.
Yeah.
So
It existed.
It exists.
it existed, yeah.
And finally, for an overall.
Yeah, I'm going to go down the middle, just give it a 5.
Same with me. It was one of those that it was okay to watch, but it just didn't move me all that much. 5.
I'll give it a 6, just because I kind of like that whole, like, is she, isn't she thing. Normally, movies really heavily lean one way or another, and this, to me, didn't. I was still like, what the fuck? So, yeah, I'll give it a 6.
I'm going to sit on a 7. I really, really like this movie, obviously, since I chose it. I feel like it gives you that question of is she, isn't she? There's beautiful cinematography in it. Liam Neeson alone is just fantastic in what he does. So I feel like a 7 is a decent score there. So we're probably sitting a 5.5 for a overall score. So that is After.Life. That is After.Life. Let's roll to the end of this because I know we're running long. Who's got plugs?
I'm going to plug real quick for the Nebraska Wildlife Rehab Inc. That's where I was. I was giving a bird to my supervisor. It is baby season, and we are having huge floods here in Nebraska. So we are getting a big influx of animals. So go to the Nebraska Wildlife Rehab Inc. website, and you can see how to donate, how to volunteer, and how you can just help us out. As I said, we got tons of babies that are going to start coming in. There's an Amazon wish list that you can give to. We need food and shelter for these kids.
Awesome.
So that's my plug.
I'll kind of piggyback on that. I've got 2. With these floods, they're actually in my backyard. I live in Elkhorn, Nebraska, and we're like right outside of where all of this is taking place. And it basically just looks like a gigantic lake up there. It's just devastating to see all these floods. If you're looking to offer some help monetarily or whatever, shoot us a message on our Facebook page or however you can get a hold of us, the website or whatever, and we can get you directed to the right places to offer any help that you're willing to. My wife Emily has been kicking ass at just getting awareness out there and getting funds and food and whatever that to the people that need it the most. It's a terrible thing that's going on right now, and any little bit helps. So don't feel too shy or whatever like that. And then second plug is I am Greg the Movie Guy, and I am positively writing movie reviews over at gregthemovieguy.com.
Cool. Yeah. Just real quick, if you are in Nebraska and you are a filmmaker, just head on over to the Film Freeway page for the Prairie Lights Film Festival, looking for submissions, whether you shot a music video, a short film, a feature film, whether you're a first-time filmmaker or you've made 100 of them, just go and submit to the Prairie Lights Film Festival. It's a really great festival. It takes place in October in Grand Island, Nebraska. And I will start doing the plug here soon.
It has begun.
Well, Josh makes fun of me for how long the next plug takes, so I'm going to try to fire through it as quickly as possible. If you are a fan of the Midnight Frightcast, and we know you are, make sure you help us out by heading on over to iTunes or whatever platform you are listening to us on, and make sure that you rate and review us. You can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, and many, many more. You can also help us out with some of the minor bills and go to patreon.com/minus. The hell am I trying? I fucked that up, didn't I?
You even got it written down, too.
Exactly. I'm reading it, and I can't even do it. You can also help us out with some of the minor bills by heading on over to patreon.com/midnightfrightcast. Make sure that you check us out online. You can find us on Twitter @MFrightcast. Follow us and join in the conversation in our Facebook group, Midnight Frightcast. And you can also find us on Instagram, Midnight Frightcast. So share, and share some more. And post it on your walls and tell your friends. And finally, make sure that you check out our films at midnightfrightfilms.com.
We have more coming. We have more coming this year.
Yep. Absolutely. Friends, this has been episode number 52. We thank you for stopping by and listening to us rant and rave about horror movies. Be sure to beat us again. About 2 weeks, we will be doing the second third, of our March Madness. Damn it, Patrick, look what you've done. We'll be doing the second third of our March Madness bracket of the top 32 horror movies of all time. For the Midnight Frightcast, I am Greg the Movie Guy, and we will check you on the flippity flip.